Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 76. With me today are Matt Jonas and Joseph Martin. Everyone introduce yourselves.
Hello, I am Matt Jonas. I should be writing a lot more for GameCola than I am. I'm sorry! I also do some video stuff, and I should be doing some of that for the GameCola channel. I'm sorry!
I'm Joseph Martin. I also should probably be writing more, though I'm working on a big review article that should be coming out soon. Or, I always say that, and then, by the time the podcast comes out, it is out, and I feel really silly when I come back and listen to the podcast. So, it may or may not be. We'll just see. But, anyways, I do that. I appear on podcasts a lot, too. That seems to be the running trend. And we definitely didn't just spend a good 15 minutes talking and decide to just throw that into the podcast that you're about to hear. That definitely didn't happen.
Hey. Oh, actually, okay. I want to ask you guys a question about video games.
No.
I don't know if I could answer that, Jeddy. You're kind of getting out of my area of expertise.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I won a free video game online, and I have to pick from a list of recent games, and most of them are garbage that I would never play. There's every single sports game that came out in 2014.
Okay.
and then there's Angry Birds Star Wars, and then
oh my word.
there's a Sims 3 expansion.
But not the actual Sims.
Yeah.
Not normal Sims 3.
Yeah. So, basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to, instead of playing the game, because I don't really have an interest in most of these, or a system to actually play them on, I was going to do a giveaway, but I'm trying to figure out which game out of the, 3 or 4 remaining vaguely interesting games I would want to pick.
What are the 3 or 4 remaining games?
Okay, let me click on the link and take a look. Because, see, the number one that I would imagine is there's Wind Waker for Wii U.
Ooh.
But it's for Wii U.
Yeah, but still, 2003 Game of the Year, was it not?
Oh, yeah, was it? Oh, well,
And,
yeah,
I mean,
right.
I think I don't remember. I think I typed it in an article once that, I did some research in it, the Wind Waker HD, actually boosted Wii U sales.
Oh, yeah? Well, here,
How popular it was.
here, let me give you the full list. We've got Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Played it, don't like it.
Okay.
Angry Birds Star Wars.
Yeah.
The Sims 3 Pets. The Legend of Zelda.
Well, that is a standalone, as far as I know, the console
Oh, is it?
version of Pets. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
yeah,
it's a
it is.
standalone.
It is for PlayStation 3. Okay, I thought it was an expansion or something. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD for Wii U. Need for Speed Rivals. NBA 2K14. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games Sochi 2014 for Wii U.
Which one is that? Gosh.
That's the most recent one.
That's the most recent one.
Yeah,
People
it's...
stopped talking about that. They talked about
Yeah.
the first one and then maybe the second one, and then no
Basically.
one's mentioned it since.
Yeah, I was going to buy it, but then I thought, hold on, it's Sochi, right? So the money's going to go to Russia, right? Russia are absolutely xenophobic and hate gays. No, not giving them my money.
Does any of the money actually go to Russia?
I don't know, but for that reason alone, not buying.
Also, it's probably exactly the same as the other ones. If you
Yeah, probably, but in HD.
Just Dance 2014. FIFA 14. NHL 14 for Xbox 360, NCAA Football 14, then Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, which I don't know if that's the game or if that's an expansion again.
I think that's an expansion. I think that's like the, oh dear, we screwed up Final Fantasy 14. Here's the expansion that makes everything great.
Yeah, I remember
I think it's that.
I remember they did that twice with Final Fantasy XI when I played it. But then
Does not surprise me.
There's Rayman Legends and Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix.
Rayman Legends is surprisingly decent.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to have one for giving away, I would probably say Kingdom Hearts. Because, I mean, it's got the largest fan base, and I'm I'm sure nice things have been said about Kingdom Hearts before on Cola.
Well, okay, this one's for PlayStation 3. I don't know if there's different...
The Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts.
It's basically Kingdom Hearts Recoded, and one of the PSP ones together.
Multiple ones?
Yeah, all in one HD collection. So.
Okay. That would boost the appeal.
Yeah.
I thought it was a handheld series, though.
No?
What Kingdom? No, it's had handheld instances in it, but all the main series titles have been on consoles.
Huh. Maybe
so 1, 2, and the upcoming number 3.
I've only seen them advertise the other ones.
I think there has been more portable titles than there has been console titles. Yeah, I'd go as far as to say there's been more portable titles than console titles.
Weird.
Even the ones that got ported to console. But in Japan, they had special editions of 1 and 2 that we're only just getting now in the HD packs. I don't actually care about Kingdom Hearts. Like, it may come across that I like it, but I don't. I just happen to know a bit about it, which is weird.
I guess, like, because that's...
So, what I would say is anyone who wanted Legend of Zelda HD Wind Waker probably already has it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that one.
That's probably right, because, I went out and bought it day one, so... I imagine the majority of people who wanted it did the same thing. And
it was part of a promotion where if you got Mario Kart 8, you got a free game.
You could get
one of them.
That's
where I got. That's why I have it. It's next to my
game and I got Game and Wario in that one. That game's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Game and Wario. I wouldn't have paid for it, but to get it free was good.
I thought it was New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Pikmin 3, Legend of Zelda HD, and was the fourth one.
There was about like 12.
Oh, I only saw 4.
Like a ton of games.
Maybe they only marketed 4 main ones, and then there were other ones if you didn't want those.
Hold on, I'll get the list up.
Because I remember thinking I already owned half of these. I owned one of them.
Okay, it may be different in different regions, but it should tell me, once I enable JavaScript, it should tell me what games. The games here in the UK were Nintendo Land, New Super Mario Bros. U, Game & Wario, Pikmin 3, Wind Waker HD, Sonic Lost World, Sochi Olympics, Wii Party U. What the hell is that called? The something 101, what's that one called?
The Wonderful 101?
The Wonderful 101 and Monster Hunter 3.
Yeah, Wonderful 101 was like...
So there were 10 games to pick from, and I picked Game & Wario, which was pretty fun. And I've had more enjoyment out of that than Mario Kart 8, but that's because Mario Kart 8 is unbalanced and shit. Come at me, Mario Kart fans, come at me.
It's Mario Kart.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Yeah.
The whole point is that it's completely unbalanced.
Yep.
I was just looking up what the deal is with Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, and apparently, I just loaded up the Wikipedia for Final Fantasy XIV, and it says, version 1 of the game was ceremoniously concluded with a virtual extinction event.
Wow.
Which is now known in A Realm Reborn storyline as the Calamity.
Wow.
Which terminated all service.
That first version sure was a calamity, that's for sure.
It's just funny to think, usually... online games, as far as I know, Final Fantasy XI is still going. But apparently they killed everyone in Final Fantasy XIV and then sold a new game.
All of a sudden it sounds like they released a bad game on purpose, doesn't it?
Oh, hold on. Let me read some of this. Because it says, through the god's blessing, the player character escapes the devastation by time-traveling 5 years into the future. I wonder if that means that if you had a character in the original, that they make it over into the new game or not.
That sounds like it.
It makes it sound like the way they're doing it is that they're completely redoing the world, and any influence you had on the world is completely gone, but you'll keep your character.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I haven't played the games, but it sounds like what they kind of do with Mass Effect 2 and 3, except you just keep the character stuff.
Well, it sounds kind of like what Matt Jonas just said, where it was a terrible game, so they wanted to just get rid of everything.
Yeah, that was the reason. That was the reason.
It was absolutely panned. It was absolutely panned by everybody. Final Fantasy XIV. I remember it happening and watching it happen. I'm just like,
wasn't it
I don't play MMOs.
It came out? I'm pretty sure it was panned before it came out too.
Yeah.
Did either of you play Final Fantasy XI?
I haven't played like Final Fantasy except for the first one for like 15 minutes before I realized how completely lost I was and gave up. But this was back when I was like still like 9th or 10th grade, and I didn't quite click with the whole just shouldn't pirate games that you don't own sort of mentality that I try to avoid now.
I don't play MMOs. There's your answer. I think the last MMO I properly played was Ragnarok Online back in about 2005.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't play MMOs.
I think the closest thing to an MMO I've played is probably Club Penguin.
Neopets. Like.
Or Webkins.
Yeah.
Webkins was
wow. Webkins. Like, I've never played Webkins, but I have so many of the, like, plush animals from Webkins because they're just so cute. So it's just like, forget playing the game, I just want the cute animals.
My brother. Because, you know, like, and I don't blame the kid for this, because when you're a kid, you're like, you know, I want this thing, I'm going to ask for it. It's the parents' sort of job to say, no, this is enough. This kid had, like, because you got, like, rewards for having a certain amount of Webkins.
Yeah.
So I think the first one was, like, 5 or 10, which is like, okay, that deserves something. This kid had, like, 50. Like, there was just a pile of these things in his room. It's like, that's a little weird. And there's no way you could possibly manage all of that. It's just ridiculous amount of stuff. The game wasn't... you basically just played mini games the whole time. And it was like Neopets where you didn't have to have any responsibility.
Yeah.
That's basically how it worked, if I recall correctly. That's all I have to say about that.
So I started my MMO playing with Ragnarok, and I played that for a while until Final Fantasy XI came around, and then I jumped over to that, and I played that for a long time until I basically got completely disillusioned with the MMO genre in general and haven't touched one since.
And were they all MMOs after 11?
No. 12 was single player, 13 was single player.
That's right.
13.2 it was single player, like
13.3 Lightning's got a game. was a single.
Why would you still number it then?
I don't really...
Like, why wouldn't you just call it the Final Fantasy MMO or something like that?
Yeah.
Why would you give it a number?
Yeah, that is weird.
It seems like a weird... Like, you don't have games that, like, change styles but keep the number, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, even the Mario games, like, you know, the Mario Party... It's like, what if Mario Party was actually Mario number 12
Oh, yeah.
with, like, the subtitle Mario Party?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone does that.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna change the gameplay so drastically, like genres like that,
Yeah.
then usually you change numbering systems.
Well, I mean, when they went to Final Fantasy XII, like, a lot of people made the joke that it's basically Final Fantasy XI offline. Like, the battle system was incredibly similar. Like, you play in 3D and you walk around and you can, like, target enemies and, like, I don't know. It wasn't, like, yeah, it was online and it was multiplayer, but I feel like the gameplay wasn't that huge of a departure from the usual, like, killing things and getting equipment, and, like, it's an RPG still, you know? Like, I mean, it is still a little weird, like, to go from single player to multiplayer like that, but I don't know. Either way, they made a lot of stupid mistakes with 11 because they released the English version, like, a year after the Japanese got it. So, of course, like, we're put down at, you know, level 1 into this world where the Japanese players already have everything, and there's already an expansion pack out, and so I have the box in my hand. I got it the first day. I go home. It takes like an hour to install the game on like 8 discs or whatever, and then finally I log on and it says now downloading all of the updates. And it literally took, I think, 13 hours to download and install all of the updates.
You're downloading an entire world.
I just did that off of the discs. Like, it was a nightmare. And I don't know, I took like a year off, and then some friends were like, hey, why don't you come back and play again? Like, let's go do that again. Remember, it was a good time? And I was like, I don't really remember it being a good time, but okay. And
I remember
I don't
things
yeah.
that happened.
Like, there were certain fun aspects of the gameplay, but when I got back, it was just so weird because the economy was so different. Like, everything, like, they had introduced a bunch of new items, and, like, you can do crafting, and there were certain items that used to be rare that now it's had another, like, whole year worth of people building it up, and since they don't disappear, like, they don't break or anything, everyone just has them now. And, like, it never really gained more players, so it's just, like, juggling around these items. And, I don't know, going back, I think I spent a month and then quit completely. Final Fantasy XIV.
So we got on the subject of Final Fantasy XIV because Realm Reborn was one of the games you wanted to potentially give away.
Yeah, and so I guess I can mark Wind Waker off of the list because everyone probably has it if they wanted it.
I know. That's what I would say.
And I kind of feel like since 14 is an MMO, like, does it have a monthly...
I would imagine so, because it's Square Enix and they like to rip people off.
But isn't that also just sort of the general MMO policy?
True, but more so for Square Enix.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of games go without the monthly fee now and just charge you microtransactions or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And what would you be giving away if it was a free service?
Well, I mean, I have the option to choose from PC, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 4. So they could be getting the physical game. I don't know. I think I'm going to mark that one off, though. So then I'm down to Rayman Legends and Kingdom Hearts Remix 1.5 HD.
What are the console options for Rayman Legends?
PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii U, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. But I have to pick one before I can do the giveaway, because I need to get the game first.
Well, nobody owns an Xbox One or a PS4, so you can cross those off.
Okay. I feel like...
Just taking his word for it?
Absolutely nobody owns one of those.
I mean, it's not that I disagree with you.
Okay, because, like, I mean, we do have to keep in mind, like, who are we talking to here?
Yeah.
Like, would Wii U be the safest bet, or would PlayStation 3?
I would say Wii U, just because it's a more sort of, like, friendly console. Chances are, if you're a proper gamer, you have a Wii U.
Which is weird.
Fighting talk.
But it's weird to think that, because, like, a year ago, everyone was like, this is just going to fail and no one's going to buy it.
Yeah.
And then now, it's the same thing I said about the 3DS, which, in one respect, speaks to how Nintendo can deliver on their consoles over time. But in the other respect, shows they're really bad at releasing consoles these days.
Yeah.
Like, didn't everyone sit through the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One announcements and then, like, immediately go out and buy a Wii U? Like, didn't Wii U sales get boosted after they realized that the other two weren't that great?
I know that here in the UK, Mario Kart 8 boosted Wii U sales by, are you ready for this? 666%.
Yikes.
Well, I looked at my old article that I wrote, and I found my source that said that Wind Waker HD increased Wii U sales by 685% in the UK.
Wow. So the sales were already up. So Mario Kart, although it had a lower percentage, resulted in more sales?
Oh, yeah, because if it was, like, would it be sextupling the number of consoles from... But, like, how many did they sell? It makes it sound like they sold 3, and then they sold, what, like,
That's what I was going to
17?
say. It's like, it seems more likely that just no one in the UK owned a Wii U for a while.
Yeah, but they, like...
basically me, and that's it.
They jumped from 3 to 20, and then they jumped to 125 or something. Like, but Rayman. I feel like I'm gonna go with Rayman Legends. I don't really know, because I feel like if you already have the Kingdom Hearts games, would you want the collection?
Well, I would think the collection would appeal to someone who's like, hey, I wanted to get into Kingdom Hearts.
But I
This
don't.
would be an easy way, because
Yeah.
I would just get all the games
Yeah.
at once instead
Not
of...
only that, the original game itself in the pack is completely rebuilt from scratch because they lost the source code.
Okay.
So it's like playing a brand new game.
Hmm.
So there's that to consider in picking it. I mean, the problem is, like, you're never going to appeal to, like, everybody with the one you pick. So it's a question of which one is probably worth more, or which one are people going to want more.
Yeah.
And I imagine, you know, Kingdom Hearts has got that huge Final Fantasy backing and that huge Square backing, that huge Disney backing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are only so many people who go, oh, Rayman Legends, that looks fun.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because it is really fun.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't quite have the history backing it up.
yeah,
The fan base.
Mm-hmm.
that Kingdom Hearts does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess I'll go with Kingdom Hearts.
Because
Yes.
Rayman
Now I
had
need
that-
to work out a way to win it.
Rayman had that sort of dark period where it was about the rabbits instead of the main character.
Oh god, like it resulted in a really good game. Like Rabbids Go Home is like one of the best games on Nintendo Wii. You play as a rabbit who's pushing another shopping trolley with a rabbit in it, right?
Mhm.
And you're wheeling yourself around supermarket,
Is this the whole game?
hospital, stuff like that. Yeah, you're wheeling around, picking stuff up and sticking it in your shopping basket so you can build a pile of junk high enough to reach the moon so you can go home.
And that was the whole game?
Yeah, and that game is like the best game to come out of Rabbids. Absolutely.
I thought you were gonna say the best game to come out on Wii U or on the Wii.
On Wii. No, I'd still say something like another Code R, just because of the emotions that game made me feel playing it. But you can read all about that in my review on GameCola.net.
Oh, actually, okay. You said something, source code something, and I was reminded of a Facebook post by GameCola staff member Stu Gipp. Did he actually get the original stuff of Dizzy?
I think he managed to get into a conversation with the Oliver twins and see the original source documents and code for Dizzy.
Okay, but he doesn't he doesn't own it.
I don't think he owns the source code, but it would be so awesome if he does, because we can start making a mobile port and make quick buck. You know. So.
I don't know, it was interesting to look at the actual stuff. It's weird. It's really weird looking at how old game development went, where it was weirdly on graphing paper and stuff.
You don't have all these
have you seen the original Super Mario? I think it's Donkey Kong sprites.
Really?
Drawn on graph paper.
Weird.
They're awesome.
It's so strange. I do think about it occasionally, because I'm really into how they made the music for NES games and that kind of thing. Because I have a MIDI keyboard and I can just open whatever program I want and input music into a program. But for them, that was back in the days of black and green DOS computers. They didn't really have the stuff that we have these days. So
have you seen any of the public domain music creation programs for Game Boy or
I do know
stuff like that?
I do know about whatever it was, the game. There's a Game Boy one that runs on the Game Boy, and I've tried to use it, and it is physically impossible to use.
Well, I would imagine they'd probably have a system like that. You scroll down and then you set the note.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I reckon they'd do. I couldn't imagine typing in lines of code just to make music.
Well, no.
That would just blow my mind.
I mean, I imagine that they had some sort of editor utility, but just the concept of you have to realize that they now if I want to make a song, I can just go ahead and do it. But for them, they would probably write and play the song on paper and an actual piano or guitar or whatever, and then put it enter it into the computer later and see how it sounded.
Mm-hmm. And you also have to think about how back with the NES and the Game Boy, I would imagine it's the same thing, but you could only produce 4 sounds at the same time. You couldn't have music and sound effects happening at the same time. They would go over each other. You'd have to sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah.
So like I know, like sometimes you'll get parts where like if there's something with a continuous sound, part of the music will cut out and you won't be able to hear it.
Yeah, well, like,
I think in a lot of them. No, you.
I was just gonna say Mega Man is a very like obvious example of this.
Yeah, with the charge shot.
Yeah, well, like anything that you do, like whenever you like jump or you take damage, the like song pauses for a second.
Well, it takes out whatever instruments it needs to make the weapon sound.
Yeah.
So with the charge shot, it usually takes out like the harmony line, because with NES you've basically got 4 instruments.
Yeah.
The first 2 are sort of your basic chiptune sound that you probably think of most of the time when you think of NES, and then you've got and those 2 will usually like harmonize with each other if they're going to do anything.
Yeah.
And then you've got triangle, which plays the beep boops like whoop whoop, and it'll do a bass line. And you've got, I forget what the percussion one is called.
There's noise. Yeah.
Noise.
And that does all the
yeah.
Well, I mean, if I was making a game, I probably would use the noise for the sound effects, but then all my sound effects would be
yeah.
Well, like, because you have to realize, like, when Mega Man, like, transfers down to, like, the level and it goes, like, bleep, like, that is just them playing, like, 4 very quick notes in the square channel.
Yeah.
So, like...
If you listen to it slowed down, it sounds really weird. Like, also the part where he lands, like, it's like 2 sounds.
Yeah.
But you don't really think of it like that because they play it so fast. But it's like, boop, boop. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I had to do that because, like, when I made, Pizzerian or Star Runner, I had to make my own sound effects. And, like, it really is just, like, playing... 4 or 5 notes, or like playing a note and like warping it or whatever, like changing some aspect of it, or having 2 notes that are like, I don't know, going in and out or whatever. Like there's different ways to make different sound effects. And yeah, the Nintendo also had a channel that was like not sound effects, but like actual, basically like a wave file, except really, 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 really poor quality.
PCM?
Yeah,
was it?
DPCM. Yeah, and like that's where you get like skate or die, skate or die.
The Adventures of Bio Billy.
Yeah, I think was it Dan Castro? Didn't he have like a column on that at one point? Or no, I think it was Mark Friedman, actually.
Not Marty Friedman.
No, Mark Friedman, the GameCola staff writer.
Not Marty Friedman, the guitarist with Megadeth.
No.
Not
all right.
Friedman.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah, here we go. Low quality voice clips. Oh yeah, the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters NES game, where it starts off and goes, Gersh. Oh yeah, Blades of Steel. Yeah. Because you know that I put the, Pizzerian voice clip in Pizzerian. Like, I am endlessly...
Yeah, how did you do that?
Okay, I finally found, they're called Bit Crushers, is like a set of...
Googling.
It's a set of, like, plugins for Audacity that you can...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can just set, like... Because with Audacity,
I see
you
it.
can only...
Make 8-bit sound effects with your voice easy.
Yeah, and... With Audacity, you can only save things as low as like 22,000 hertz and 8 bits. But with the Bit Crusher, it'll do it for you, where you can save it down to like 2-bit, like 8,000 hertz, like sound effects. And that is how I made the Pizzerian thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it fairly realistically, I feel, emulates the sound effects of the Nintendo.
I wanted to know how to do that, because I think I might do some for my videos.
Yeah, so that's how I did that. But you will notice that in some games, they save the noise channel by putting the drum in the DCPM or D pulse code modulation, PCM.
Yeah.
They put it there. I think Super Mario Brothers 3 did that, and some of the sound effects in Mario Brothers 2 also were...
What, like the
yeah.
when you're pulling up a vegetable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it made like a sound, but like it sounded really weird. Those were also using that.
That's why it sounded weird. Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So was this something that was included in the NES, or was it just something that you could put in your own disc? Because obviously not all games made use of this.
It was, I think, included in the Nintendo sound chip. There were some games that did add their own extra square waves or whatever, but it's limited to like...
Gimmick and Batman mainly. Basically, Sunsoft games tend to have more channels.
I thought, what was it? I thought Konami did that a few times.
Maybe. I know for definite Gimmick and one of the Sunsoft Batman games did it.
I don't know, it's just interesting to me to see what they were able to do with the NES to make some of this music happen. Like, we have it so easy now.
I just remember, because Mega Man 1 in particular cuts a lot out around the edges. You've got the pieces of level that are just kind of copy-pasted with, one or two things changed, or nothing changed at all.
Yeah.
But if you listen to, the stage select with, Cutman, Gutsman, all that.
Yeah.
That doesn't have any percussion. It doesn't have any noise. Neither does in the first game the select when you click on it, it goes da 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 da.
Yeah.
That bit doesn't have any percussion either. But then in Mega Man 2, they kept the da 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 for the boss selecting, but they added percussion. So it's just so it seemed to me that it was very clearly a limitation of the. That was the reason that they did it. Wasn't like a creative choice as much as it was a memory saving choice. I think most of the other levels though and use it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
You do also have to keep in mind that the space on the cartridge was very limited. So even if it wasn't for musical reasons or whatever, it might have been the actual physical space on the cartridge.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. Actually, to change the subject slightly, but to continue on with music, I recently, I don't know why, but I decided to play HAL's Hole-in-One Golf. Have either of you played that Super Nintendo?
No.
Okay. It is the absolute weirdest game to play if you've never played it, but if you've played EarthBound.
What?
Okay, and...
Okay, talk me through it, please.
Oh, okay.
Jeddy's been waiting for this whole podcast.
Sorry. It just came to mind. And actually, I just remembered, because I just had the Wikipedia article open. Apparently, today is the birthday, as we're recording this, July 27th, of Mother.
Oh, really?
It was apparently released in Japan, July 27th, 1989.
Wow.
Which birthday is it? Do you know?
25, wouldn't it be? So a big one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like people would be... so wait, is it the Mother release or the...
Mother, yeah, not EarthBound.
Okay.
The first game in the series.
Right, okay. So I'm guessing people will probably talk about it once we get to the anniversary.
Yeah, get to EarthBound.
It's interesting though, because if we... Because this is number 76, right? Podcast number 76. So that means that we have
24.
And that's 2 years, 2 sets of 12 months. So we could conceivably have Podcast 100 fall on the anniversary of Mother in 2 years. So keep track, keep your eye on that, Jay.
I think you just blew my mind, man.
I was going to bring up the 100 because I thought about it today. So I didn't just come up with that. I didn't just have this blast of inspiration of, wait a minute, 76, 24?
Yeah.
But that was interesting. Anyways, tell the story about your golf game.
Thank you. As you so ceremoniously put it. Yes, tell us about your golf game.
I was being mad at myself for not letting you share your story with us. Continue, please.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, reading the Wikipedia article on EarthBound, it says EarthBound, known as Mother 2, in Japan is a 1994 Japanese role-playing video game co-developed by Ape and HAL Laboratory.
Ah, yes,
HAL
yes.
of HAL's Hole-in-One Golf.
Really?
Yeah, like HAL's Hole-in-One Golf refers to HAL Laboratory. Like, it's not a guy. I always thought
I thought it referred to the robot from like that rubbish film, Space Odyssey.
Oh, no, I mean, that might be why the company is called that. I don't know, honestly.
Yeah,
No,
I think so. Yeah.
No, it's called HAL because it puts them one in each letter. It puts them one step ahead of IBM.
Oh, wow.
That's why the robot was called HAL in the movie.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because it's one letter ahead.
That is
IBM.
the stupidest. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry. But okay, so the two were made by the same company. And HAL, like, I also recently began listening to the music from Kirby 3 for Super Nintendo, which I always thought, because I had been a fan of the music from Kirby Superstar, I always thought that Kirby's Dream Land 3 came first, because Kirby Superstar kind of has not better composition, but better execution, I guess. Like, the sound like clearer and crisper, whereas Kirby's Dream Land 3 seems like it directly rips off the sounds from Arcana, which is like Kirby's Dream Land 3 was like 96, and Arcana, 98. Kirby's Dream Land 3 came out in 98, but Arcana is from like 91. So I don't know.
What is Arcana? Because I saw it for import the other day, and I decided not to get it.
No, it was recently Classic Cola'd, because people aren't writing for GameCola lately. It was an RPG, 92, probably 91 in Japan. But okay, it was an RPG where like you played as this card guy, and like everything was like graphically represented by cards, which I always thought was like really super cool. But it was just like the world's most generic RPG, but in that way I kind of liked it as a child. Anyway, I was very familiar with the music from that, so when I heard Kirby's Dream Land 3, I was like, man, this sounds like this. They just ripped off the sounds from Arcana, and I always thought that Kirby's Dream Land 3 came out like a year later or something, and then I later found out it was like the last game on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and really sluggish and slow after Superstar. It's like, how do you go from super fun Kirby to slow, kind of dull Kirby?
Yeah, but
like I remember 2 podcasts ago,
okay.
I was talking about a level in Kirby's Dream Land 3 where you collect the parts of Rob the Robot.
Yeah.
I haven't beaten that level because I'm that sick of Kirby's Dream Land 3 now.
Huh?
I just can't play it. It's too slow. It's boring.
But okay, so HAL's Hole-in-One Golf does the same kind of thing. Like, a lot of the music, like the sounds of the music aren't that familiar, but then suddenly there's 2 or 3 songs that use the exact trumpet sound effect from EarthBound. And it is just so disturbing to listen to. Like, I just can't get out of my head this stupid trumpet sound. Hold on. Let me go to YouTube and see if I can HAL's Hole-in-One Golf. Because they've got to have the music. Let me see if I can figure out which track it even is.
I'm concerned I'm going to end up having Pokemon Gen 3 flashbacks, because I'm pretty sure they used every trumpet sound in the song.
Yeah. All I saw when they announced Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I just saw screenshots and pictures of just like characters with trumpets and like Iwata with a trumpet, like flying on top of Kyogre with a trumpet, and I'm just like, what? So apparently they did have lots of trumpets in them. I can't remember like the maybe 2 weeks fleeting romance I had with Pokemon Emerald and then never touched it again. Like, that's all I can remember.
It was prominent, but it was more like it had, like, you know, like Jay's probably pulling up with the hole-in-one thing. It was more like a very iconic trumpet sound that wasn't really used in much else, and they used it a lot. But it wasn't like there were plenty of tracks that didn't have it, but it was sort of their focal point of their music. But sometimes it's fun, like you can go online and you can like look up like songs from the Hoenn games with every instrument replaced with a trumpet.
I've got to do that.
Hold on. I'm going to send you the link, and you guys can listen to the horn in HAL's Hole in One Golf. But basically, the trumpet is the one that's sitting there going...
Yeah, the backing.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And, like, that is very obviously, like, the one from EarthBound, and it bugs me so much trying to...
Well, it makes sense if HAL co-developed it, because they'll just use the same sound font.
Yeah, like, why would they, for, like, a golf game, put that much effort into the music of a golf game to make all new stuff?
Exactly.
But it's distracting.
But it's the fact that it's the instrument you're familiar with. Yeah, I mean, I've been looking a lot into sample-based music at the moment, and every time I hear a sample I recognize, I'm just... and it's gotten to the point where I recognize so many samples in other video game songs that I'm just thinking, couldn't you have used a different sample pack to everyone else?
Yeah.
So I know the feeling. It's like, that reminds me of that game. Why did you use it?
It is interesting, like, when people make, their own music or whatever online, but they use, like, I heard someone make music using the, like, Secret of Mana sounds.
I've got all those classic Super Nintendo sound fonts for Fruity Loops, and it's amazing just what you can produce with them.
Yeah, it's just interesting to hear, because, like, I mean, everyone is used to hearing, like, NES music, but then when you hear, like, a Genesis sounding...
if I could get myself a Genesis sound font, I would be, like, so done, because I love that guitar sound that comes out of the sound chip. Yeah. It's beautiful. Like, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, like, overuses that, and so does Comic Zone. They just overuse that guitar sound. Yeah. Beautiful.
It is interesting, like, how unique the sounds can be from different systems.
Yeah, you'll never hear that Mega Drive guitar coming out of a Super Nintendo. Never.
It's also cool when video games put their own flair on, like, pre-established sounds. Like, I know Mega Man has the very it's a sound where basically they take the triangle sound, the bass line, and they pitch it down really fast.
Oh yeah.
It's the main thing that plays after you beat a Robot Master in Mega Man 2.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the easiest places to single it out, if I can remember. The boo-doo, boo-doo, boo. But it, like, they use that a lot in their bass lines, and it makes the song sound very Mega Man. Like,
yeah, like,
it puts you in that frame of mind.
I think was it Crash Man has it in the background. It's like pew, 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 pew.
Boo boo doo 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 doo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's all sing. Let's just all sing on the podcast.
We can just
I'm sure. Everybody pick a song.
Well, no, we each pick a track. We pick a channel of Crash Man.
Oh, no.
Do you know how to harmonize Crash Man?
Because I still have Winamp 2 installed so that I can listen to video game music. It tells me every time I open it that I need to update to like 5.8 or something.
All I can think of is that Hyodane Crashman song. Whenever people start doing the Crashman music.
The what song?
The Crash Let's Do It.
Oh,
Crashman
yeah. Hyodane, who we talked about before.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know.
Yeah, but I'm not singing those lyrics on the podcast.
I do know what you are referring to.
I would not feel comfortable doing it. I would be embarrassed.
Yes. There was another one where somebody mixed Crash Man with Justin Timberlake's Love Stoned. And that was a good one.
Oh, there was another mashup like that for video. I can't remember it now. I had it for like a second and now I've lost it. Where it matched up perfectly. Now all I can think of is how the Thomas the Tank Engine theme makes a really good background to rap songs, apparently.
Yeah. There's an amazing remix with Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff remixed with the Thomas the Tank Engine theme. It's amazing.
Oh, there is all of the Space Jam remixes with various...
Yeah, I do feel that gets overdone, though.
Yeah.
Like, everybody does either that or Fresh Prince, and they're like, oh, we're so unique.
Yeah.
But then you come across someone who does, like, an anime opening theme and Kanye West, and it just works.
Well, where I originally got into, like, video game mashups and stuff was, if you're familiar with Nico Doga.
Yes, basically the Japanese YouTube.
Yeah, and it was really popular for a while to mix, like, Sky High from Kirby Superstar.
Oh, right. What they would have called an MAD. I don't know what that stood for. But...
Yeah. I forgot about that part of it. It's been, like, such a long time since I've looked them up. But, like, they'll take... there was, like, 2 or 3 popular ones. It was, like, Sky High, then, like, the boss battle theme from the Super Mario RPG, and, like, a couple of others, like Battle on the Big Bridge from Final Fantasy V. And they would just remix it with, like, the scene from Death Note, the movie where he's, like, getting shot and he's flipping out. And
there's an amazing one for Sky High that's Tom and Jerry.
Yes.
And it works perfect.
It is pretty
It's
amazing.
like the perfect mixture.
Yeah. I don't know, there's a bunch of different ones, but those endlessly entertained me back in the day. So yeah, like I can see how Space Jam and Fresh Prince gets a little old when you used to have some like variety elsewhere.
Not only that, it seems like the MADs are like 10 times more involved than just putting a backing track and Quad City DJs together.
Well, that's the thing is, I saw a few where like Western video makers would try to do a similar thing with Sky High, except that it would just be like the Mario cartoon and Luigi going like over and over, or like Robotnik saying Pingus like over and over, and it would just be that. There would be like nothing else inserted. It would just be
the one noise. Yeah,
and it's like that isn't. Like,
and it wasn't even pitch shifted properly.
Yeah, it was just timed. Like, yeah.
I have seen some other ones like that. I can't give you any names off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I've seen some other ones that kind of they use different sounds for different instruments, basically.
What was it? I saw one that was like Dragon Warrior 5 sound effects played over like the French can. Like I don't know where they come up with some of these. So we have listener mail.
Oh, cool.
How delayed is this listener mail? Because wasn't the last one like a couple months?
Okay, this one is delayed at the current moment. Actually, no, because the timing is off from what it actually like tells me when I received it. It is about an hour. It was received about an hour ago.
Whoa.
So when we started the podcast?
Yeah, like the time says that it was received at 3:59 p.m., at which it is currently 6:24, but I know that the email server is like half an hour off. I guess it would be like 2 hours. But
so it's super fresh.
Yeah.
Hit me with it, dog. I'm ready. I'll answer any question.
Hey, podcast fan email. No Lynch again. You already know me, so I'll get on with the meat of the letter. Prime rib steak, salmon, chicken fingers, and I also have discussion points for the cast.
But
Yes. So this is the first one. In games with customizable housing, do you try to make it all pretty, or pretty much leave it alone?
Ooh,
I
that's
think
a good question.
I think that's skipping like The Sims, but
my immediate thoughts go to Kirby's Epic Yarn,
okay.
where there was like a little place where you could take the stuff you collected and put it in.
Yeah.
And I think this applies to other situations where it's been possible too. But usually what I'll do is when they first introduce the mechanic to me, I'll spend a lot of time working on it. But then afterwards, like when you start getting like a whole bunch of other stuff that you're actually supposed to use to decorate it, I'll completely ignore it. Like I'll use like the 5 things that they give you right at the beginning and then never touch it again, even though there's supposed to be like hundreds that you're supposed to gradually accumulate.
Going back to Final Fantasy XI, they had your Mog House, and they did have furniture that you could buy for your Mog House that would like increase your storage space. So you would like buy a bed, and you would be able to like put like 2 pieces of armor in there or something.
I immediately thought of My Sims, which kind of isn't the same as The Sims, so I'm going to get away with it.
Okay.
In My Sims, they like someone says to you, "Oh, can you please build me a flower shop?" Right? So it's like, okay, here's all the bits for the flower shop, and it's got to have this many like amount of flower textures on it, and it's got to have this many of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, there's the bare minimum. Right, now we're adding arches. Now we're adding staircases. We are going to put smiley faces all around the perimeter of this. You know, I will go above and beyond in a game like My Sims just to build like the ultimate flower shop.
Yeah.
And then the person says, "Hey, I like it." And it's like, "Hey,
Hey, my job.
how can you decorate the inside of my house?" Okay, what I'm thinking is pizzas everywhere.
Not like pizza designs, like literal pizza.
Literal pizzas.
I actually just cooked 100, so it's like perfect timing, you know.
You came at the
Basically,
right
you
time.
get these things called essences, which are like paint that you can put on walls and on objects, but you can also just take the essence and use it as an object, and there is pizza essence, which you can just put down as pizzas. So I just put them on every table, in the corner of rooms, just pizzas everywhere, on the worktop. Just pizza.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why not? And then the person's like, "Hey, I like it. I like pizza." It's like, yay!
I'm just vaguely reminded of the duplicator in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and just like throwing turkey legs like everywhere, or I mean like actual turkeys, or you know my favorite is throwing the monster vials and killing Dracula using like the bone throwing skeleton that throws a single bone and then dies, but just like throwing so many of those out that they're doing 2 damage like dozens of times.
I remember beating Dracula with my fists. It was fun.
I actually did. My roommate had never played the game, which I was shocked about. And I had a PlayStation 2, but I didn't have a PlayStation 2 memory card. So I played through the entire game without dying.
Wow.
So that was fun. But
I usually always die at least twice on that like Egyptian thing that like shoots lightning.
okay, well
Because I never realized there was armor that could turn lightning into health. So
Oh.
I went into the boss battle without knowing that.
no,
And just getting shocked.
yeah, I knew to avoid that room because I think that's supposed to be like not something you do before.
Yeah, that's bonus for map percentage, really.
Yeah. But next question.
Did we answer the first one?
Customizable housing?
I
Oh,
think
well,
we
okay.
did.
Oh, well, do we want to give a summary? I guess the answer is yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Or yes, no, and yes. Joe, did you say yes or no?
I said kind of.
Kind of like in certain circumstances. Well, like you're not
Yes,
going to go out of your
kinda.
way. This is what I think you said.
Yeah.
So,
I'll do it once and then never do it again. I won't change anything afterwards.
yeah. No, I can't think of any games that I've actually played that had that as like a major aspect. But in the like 1 or 2 times that I remember having like something like that available, I was like, man, this is really cool because I'm like 9 and this is the Super Nintendo and I've never seen something like this before, you know? Okay, so next one. What is your favorite video game genre?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because for me, like growing up, it was always RPGs. Anything that was an RPG was good for me. Although, to a certain extent, after 3D came around, I sort of fell out a bit with where RPGs had been going at that point. But I still enjoy like classically styled 2D turn-based RPGs.
I would probably say platformer, but I wouldn't be able to shrink it down to 2D or 3D.
Yeah.
It sort of depends. But most of my favorite games are platformers. So I would probably have to go with that. Because all of Mega Man, pretty much, are the ones that I played. And then Mario, and those are the main ones that I think of that would probably push it over into that category.
Yeah.
The other main game I play is Pokemon, but I don't play any other types of RPGs that much.
Yeah.
And it's not really it's not like a quintessential RPG as much. You know, it's sort of its own, because I feel like Final Fantasy games and games like that are more in the line of the standard RPG sort of formula, where you've got your characters and you level them up, and you can switch out a couple of them.
It is sort of weird because Pokemon, like I never really thought too much about it as being an RPG, but it is very definitely like a classic 2D like turn-based RPG, but like no one ever really considers it to be one for some reason.
I guess because with the role-playing game, the whole point sort of was, even though like we associate role-playing game with leveling up and getting new moves, but really, I guess the term seems to come more from like you're a character, you're the main character, and you level them up, and then usually you get some agency, and you're getting agency in how your character progresses, rather than a game where Mario is Mario and you jump on Goombas, and then at the end of in level 1-1 you jump on Goombas and Koopas, and level 8-1 you jump on Goombas and Koopas. It doesn't really change that much.
But you could also still say that you're playing the part of the trainer.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But you're not, the trainer isn't the one battling, the Pokemon are. So
I don't know, it is a tough...
It is an RPG, like there's no arguing about it. But I'd say that the main reason there's a disconnect of you don't think of Pokemon when you get to RPG is because the Pokemon are battling.
Yeah.
You're doing other stuff, and so there's a bit of a disconnect there.
It is true, because there is the concept of, like, gotta catch 'em all. Like, you don't conceptualize it as you progressing, but as that I need to progress my Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It is... it's an interesting conceptual difference.
I always considered Pokemon its own genre, or, like, that it gave birth to, like, the genre of monster collector.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, because after Pokemon, there were tons of collectathons, Dragon Warrior Monsters, Telefang, games like that just like brought in the collect monsters thing. I think it sort of made its own genre at that point.
Yeah,
I would say that it made its own distinct RPG sort of subsection.
Yeah.
Before there was only sort of one RPG idea, and that's kind of how you tweaked it obviously from game to game, but there was that sort of that formula, and then Pokemon came in and said it got to the point where it was different enough that it was still technically an RPG, and you can't really call it not one, but it's definitely something different from the RPGs that we've had before. Another comparison I would make would be Super Smash Brothers series and fighting games.
Yeah,
because there's
I'd like to call that subsection a brawler. Mm-hmm. As opposed to a general fighting game, because it's kind of hard to describe, but it's like with a fighting game you're always like most of the time 2 feet on the ground, and complex moves. With Smash Brothers it can be complex, but also it's jump around and like bash buttons basically. There's definitely a different mentality there between Smash Brothers and something like Street Fighter.
Smash Brothers is about getting your opponent up to a point where you can deliver a powerful blow and send them flying off. Whereas in a more traditional fighting game, you could conceivably slowly whittle down. It's sort of more like a battle of wills of finding where you can do damage and where you can do the most damage.
Yeah, chip damage.
Whereas with Smash Brothers, I guess it's kind of more a strategy of trying to find an opportunity to land a powerful blow after sort of doing that chip damage scuffle.
So, I've got to answer what my favorite genre is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's difficult because it changes more or less to whatever the genre is of whatever game I'm enjoying at the time.
Yeah.
But I'd be stuck between, I think, platformer and beat 'em up. It's difficult to put my finger on it because I'll be playing a beat 'em up like Streets of Rage and I'll be like, right, this is it. Beat 'em up's my favorite game ever. Pooli-Roulade, Turtles, everything. These are all great. But then I'll play a Sonic game or I'll play a platformer from the Mega Drive I've never heard of, like I don't know, like Hello Kitty Has an Adventure or something, and I'm just like, all right, this is it. Like platformers are the best genre of all time. I can't imagine playing anything else. Actually, thinking about it, rhythm games, favorite genre. I can put my foot down on that.
What games?
Rhythm games.
Oh, rhythm.
Yeah, Parappa the Rapper, Guitar Hero, Paka Paka Passion, basically anything rhythm.
I can never really get into beat 'em ups. I don't know. I think it's a mentality thing. Like, I don't enter in with the right mentality to enjoy them. I just I get bored, and I feel like that's more my fault of I don't experiment as much with, like, I guess, button combinations and stuff. But no, maybe I've just played bad ones, but it always feels really repetitive to me. Like, you beat this guy
Beat 'em
up,
ups
you can't.
definitely are. They are definitely repetitive. Even the best beat 'em ups out there are repetitive. Like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, is repetitive. I've heard stories that the beat 'em up based on the Tick has a level based on like some episode that's like Night of 100 Ninjas or something, and there's like 100 ninjas in that stage. So yeah, they can get repetitive, but I think the thing I enjoy about them is just once you get really good, you can just beat people up constantly, and just you feel like a one-man army at that point. That's what I like about them.
I do remember playing a lot of Final Fight for the Super Nintendo.
Not Final Fight Guy.
No, just...
Have you heard the story about Final Fight Guy?
Oh, no.
The limitations with Final Fight on the Super Nintendo were so bad that they could only have 2 playable characters.
Yeah.
So they had to cut out Guy.
Oh, so there's
a later version released in Japan and as an exclusive rental from Blockbuster in the US that allows you to play as Guy.
Okay.
It's just silly that they released a different version of the game.
Weird.
Just for that.
Weird.
But in Japan, it's just called Final Fight Guy.
Like, how is that even, like, a limitation? Like, why is that a selling point? Like, I explicitly wanted to play as Guy.
Well, now you can.
Actually, talking about Streets of Rage, that was another game that had good music.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I've been listening to it recently, and I've just been thinking, yeah, you've ripped that song off. That track is noise. That track is just absolute noise. And I can't say those sorts of things. Like, God forbid I say it on a podcast or something where people can hear me and they go like, what is he saying? But luckily, nobody's going to hear me ripping on Yuzo Koshiro and his amazing musical stylings. Seriously, though, I don't hate the guy's music. Some of the stuff he did for the 2D Game Gear Sonic games was fantastic. But then, like, I hear some of the stuff in Streets of Rage. Most of it's good, but some of it I'm thinking, you've ripped off that. You've ripped off. And there are tons of videos on YouTube like showing what songs he's ripped off. And you can't argue it. It's like you stole the bass line from that. But Doom does exactly the same thing. Doom ripped off like several metal songs and got away with it. So
interesting.
It happens.
I remember apparently the like A sound, or no, was it Fever or whatever from Dr. Mario? Apparently is like a direct ripoff of Lady Madonna by the Beatles.
I can hear it. I wouldn't say it was a complete ripoff, but I can definitely hear it.
Yeah, I don't know, it is interesting.
I can hear the similarity, definitely.
It is interesting to think about, like, everyone has trouble coming up with music on a deadline, I guess.
Yeah.
But, next question.
Moving right along.
Which specific video game is your personal ideal for the genre? And I don't know if they mean for any genre or just for the genre that was our favorite, maybe?
Ooh, that's kind of tricky then, because I picked like 3 genres. But I think I got it.
Like, I don't really know, because, like, again, the RPGs that I tend to like tend to be the most, like, generic RPGs, like Arcana or, like, Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, you were playing Dragon Warrior on the last podcast I was on, so...
Yeah.
I was about to say, if you didn't mention Dragon Warrior, I was going to point it out.
So I don't know if you could really, like, listen to my decision, because, like most people would probably say, like, oh, yeah, Chrono Trigger or, like, Final Fantasy III or whatever, and I'm like,
I wouldn't ever mention either of those if I were picking an RPG, because they're good games, but they get, like, overloved. And then a game like Nier just gets completely ignored.
It's true, and also I sort of feel like Chrono Trigger, it was trying too hard. Like, yeah, it did a lot of cool stuff, but I feel like it was, like, trying too much. Like, it was trying to do too much.
It was trying to be different.
Yeah, and it, like, stretched.
It shows, which is... I can see where you're coming from. You don't necessarily... There's, like, this thing... my band director kind of says it goes to music, and I think it kind of applies here, is that you don't want it to sound like what you're playing is difficult. And I think the idea is you don't want it to be really obvious that you're trying to do something different.
Yeah.
You're trying to, like,
Oh, in which case you guys wouldn't like Nier. Because that's its whole, like, manifesto. It's like, everything's got to be different.
Well, okay, but if they can, like, consistently pull it off in, like a fluid thing.
Yeah, there's a difference between being different and making it really obvious that you're being different. Like, going back to Smash Brothers, it's a really different game, but you don't get this feeling of, oh, they took this one thing about fighting games and changed it so that it would be different. It's its own thing that's similar, but it's definitely got its key differences, but they're there because it makes a good game and not necessarily because, oh, well, we can't do what they used to do because we need to be different.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that necessarily applies to Chrono Trigger, but that's the sort of mentality I'm kind of getting out of the words that we're saying right now.
Yeah, I just felt like they went way overboard with, like, whoa, all of these unique characters, and then, like, whoa, the battle system is so different, and, like, whoa, the graphics, and, like, whoa, the music. I'm like, guys, calm down. The game was good.
Portals, time travel.
Like, yeah, like, you know, ooh, so many different endings. It's like, okay, if you had, like, a game that had really good music and really good graphics, that's cool. And, like, if you had a game that had, like, a new battle system, that's cool. But I feel like too many people are like, whoa, and it had the guy from Dragon Ball Z, Akira Toriyama. Like, it's just like, okay.
Who's not actually that great doing the artwork.
Yeah, and, like, it's another Squaresoft game. Like, okay, I get it. Like, you guys like Squaresoft, you like Dragon Ball Z. Like, okay. It was a, like, decent game. It wasn't, like, world's best. I'm sorry.
This is the controversial podcast.
So tell us about Mega Man 5.
Gosh dang it, Jeddy.
I read your Twitter. Is that what you were gonna pick?
I was gonna talk about Mega Man. Yes, I have to. I've come too far. I've said too much to not say Mega Man. Like, even now, if I had completely changed my mind, like, I wouldn't be able to say not Mega Man because I've already said it. They're good. I have trouble saying, like, the ideal platformer. Kind of, I don't know. It seems like if you're going to be, like, such quintessential about a platformer, then that almost, like, devalues it. I think there are lots of things in Mega Man that could be brought into other games, which is sort of this idea of choice that isn't like dialogue options or that isn't like immediately clear. Because like with Mega Man, you have choice, but it's not like you choose to reap the benefits of your choices. Whereas in lots of other games, you make a choice and it's like, okay, you made this choice, now you have to do this so that you can see the consequences of your choice.
Yeah.
Whereas with Mega Man, you go to Metal Man first, but you don't necessarily have to use the metal blade if you in the rest of the levels. If you don't, you'd be crazy not to, but you don't have to. Just like, and then in Quick Man stage, you've got, Flash Man's weapon is really good in 2 parts, but you can only use Flash Man's weapon once in the stage because it completely drains. So you have the choice of, are you going to use it to get past the really tricky Death Laser section, or are you going to use it to take out half of Quick Man's health so that he's easier? And they're both really tricky, and you got to make the decision. But the game doesn't say, oh, by the way, you can choose to use your flash stopper here, but if you do, you won't be able. It doesn't like say
Mega Man.
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah, it doesn't say here make a choice. You just do, and so you're actually making decisions that affect the game, and it gives you actual replayability instead of. I don't consider New Game Plus replayability because that's just because you're not replaying the game for the sake of replaying the game as much as you're replaying the game to get a different experience than you could have gotten. You couldn't get the New Game Plus experience the first time.
Yeah.
Whereas with Mega Man, whatever experience you're going back for, you could have gotten the first time. But the reason that you didn't was because you chose to go a different way, not because the game said you have to beat it this way first before you can make that choice.
Yeah.
I feel like there's lots of cues they could take. But I wouldn't want every game to be like Mega Man. Not all of them. I would like there to be more Mega Man games. But Mario's, there's something to be said about, a linear progression game where you just go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, or you split off every once in a while. There's something to be said for that kind of progression. I wouldn't, so to say that Mega Man is the ideal sort of implies that every platformer should have 8 stages that you should go to, and you can pick whichever one you want to go to first. And I wouldn't say that. I would say something more akin to like how Mario Galaxy does it, whereas your options sort of increase based on where you go. So if there's a particular level that you don't like, you don't have to go back there. I know there's like a desert planet that a lot of the time I don't like the levels in it because a lot of what they have to do is just kind of letting the sand take you wherever you're supposed to go or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I play through it, I have the option to skip that. So I think, and so that's a choice, and that's, it's keeping me enjoying the game. Whereas in other situations, you just be like, no, this is level 2-4, and you beat 2-3, so now you got to do 2-4, so you can do 2-5, even if you don't like 2-4 and you like 2-5.
Yeah.
To summarize, yes, I like Mega Man 5 and Mega Man. That's the end of it.
So I mentioned 3 genres, didn't I?
Yeah.
Platformer, beat 'em up, and rhythm game. Okay, quickly, platformer, Sonic CD. Beat 'em up, Bare Knuckle 3, we get there. Right. Rhythm games. I really am a sucker for the plastic instruments. Like, when DJ Hero came out, I got it delivered to my door the day it came out with the decks. It's like, okay, DJ Hero, let's go. I played so much Rock Band on the drums, singing on the microphone, playing the guitar and bass, and then when Rock Band 3 came out, I bought myself a Rock Band keyboard. Basically, I fell in love with that genre due to the fact that I could just prance around like an idiot with some plastic instrument in my hands and feel like, I'm almost as good as the great musicians. You creating that fake feeling of pure awesome that, you're not actually that great, but, you feel like it in that moment. And sort of Guitar Hero and Rock Band really bring that to me. So to pick one in particular, I'd say Guitar Hero 6, which is an odd choice because a lot of people... 6? Yes, there was a 6th.
I didn't even know there was a 2. I mean, I guess I could have guessed that there was a 2, but I didn't
Guitar Hero 1, 2, and 3, then World Tour, which was 4, then 5 and 6. There were also spin-offs, Guitar Hero Rocks 80s,
Guitar Hero. Okay.
Band Hero.
I was getting it confused with Rock Band a bit.
Rock Band 1, 2, and 3, and there were spin-off Rock Band titles. So there was Rock Band Unplugged on the PlayStation Portable, and there was Rock Band for iOS devices. And
wouldn't Rock Band Unplugged be like Rock Band Acoustic?
It was. Have you ever played Amplitude? Are you familiar with that game at all? Nah, nobody knows Amplitude. But it was basically
I might have heard of it.
It was basically that game. So it was one of Harmonix's much older games, and they just Rock Band skinned it. But yeah, I'd probably pick Guitar Hero 6 because the major draw of Guitar Hero 6 is that it has the ability to import your library from World Tour 4, World Tour is 4, 5, Band Hero, Guitar Hero Metallica. You can just import all this content from like all the other games and just play it in the one Guitar Hero. And it had this quick play mode that, unlike the old quick play mode, had challenges you had to beat, like get a certain score or hit so many notes, and you leveled up, and it became very, very addictive to the point where I leveled up to like level 121. I'd already unlocked everything at about 101, but I kept playing, and that was... I would say it probably takes 2,000 songs to get there, roughly. So I played so much Guitar Hero 6, and to this day, it's still easily my favorite when it comes to the plastic instrument games. Guitar Hero 6 is still my favorite.
How many levels could you get up to?
Basically, I think, given how much DLC there was for the game, on disc songs, you could probably reach about level 600.
And then what happens at level 600?
You can't earn any more experience because you've completed all the challenges, which in itself requires that you have a band of 4 people who are willing to play through the same song multiple times with just guitars, that sort of thing.
Wow.
You'd have to have some of those people that are willing to not play so you can get the the challenges for playing with a band of only 2 people, that sort of thing. But yeah, if you theoretically had that, you could probably get up to about level 600 in that game. I played every on-disc song and every game export except for Guitar Hero Greatest Hits, which I didn't have.
Video games are so weird. Like,
we're only just figuring this out.
Well, I don't know, because, okay, the thing is that this has been something I've been thinking about recently, because, like, as I'm trying to, like, develop my own games, I'm sort of coming up against this wall where, like, if you've read Scratching the Itch.io, my latest column where I, like, introduced to you latest releases on the hit website itch.io.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, the thing is that I limited myself. I was like, okay, well, number one, I'm going to get rid of all the free games. I was like, well, I'm going to, like, there's still, like, 20 games coming out every week. And so I was like, well, I'll get rid of games that are under $1. And I'm like, well, this is still, like, 16 games a week. And so finally people said, like, okay, Jeddy, just review, like, the best, like, 5. I was like, how about...
Yeah, just review the ones that look interesting to you.
Yeah, and, like, I'm still, like, having trouble some of these weeks, like, getting to 6. But the thing is that, like, I'm coming up against all these games, and I'm like, dude, people are releasing, like, hundreds of games. Like, how does anyone have time for this? And we discussed, I think, previously, like, Steam sales and how, like, most people... they've only played like 13% of their Steam library because if they buy it in a bundle, you know. Then I was just like stepping back and remembering how like I would replay Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy, or 2 and 3 or whatever, and I would like replay Dragon Warrior 4, and I played Soul Blazer, which you can beat at like level 20, like somewhere around there, like anything above 20, and it just gets progressively easier. And I got to the max level of 50, which you kill all of the enemies in the game and they're gone permanently. But there are a few respawning enemies, and there's one set of enemies in the like final area that give you 4,000 experience per kill, and the levels take something like 2 million or 4 million EXP.
Wow.
So, like, I literally sat there, and every day after school, I would just come home, and I would kill hundreds of these. Like, I would just walk a very specific path through the level, kill all the enemies, go out the door, come back in, kill them all. And I was trying to get to level 99, only to discover that it maxes out at 50. But...
that's a relief in a way, though.
And also, I don't know why I did it, because number one, you max out your attack strength and defense strength. It doesn't get any better. And your HP doesn't go up visibly. They change the hue of the HP bar.
Wow.
So wait, do you not actually get an increase? Or
I think, and I can't really like vouch for this, because they're changing the shade of the HP bar like incrementally as you level up. And like there's no numbers shown, so the only thing you know is that like, well, I think I was able to take more damage based on what color I'm seeing right now. But I did it. Like, I don't know why, because there was absolutely no point. You can beat the game. There's nothing to do after that. Like, you don't do any more damage, so it's not like you can beat the game faster. I don't know why I did it, but I did. But that's the thing, is that there used to be so few games that would come out that you would actually replay games that you had beaten. And I feel like now there's this weird sort of like, why do people put 600 hours into, like, I can understand Minecraft and stuff like that, but I guess I just don't understand, like, why you would put, like, so many hours into, like, an RPG or something. Like, I don't know, Skyrim is kind of borderline as, like, I mean, yeah, there are missions and, like, you can still level up and stuff, but I guess I just don't see the appeal when you could be playing a game that's actually different.
I put so many hours into Oblivion and so many hours into Fallout 3 that when it came to New Vegas, I was like, no. And when it came to Skyrim, I was like, no. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it to myself. Not again.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, video games are just sort of weird. I don't know. So are we ready for the next question?
Is
Yes,
there more?
yes, yes.
Yeah, we should probably
I'm
keep going.
so ready.
What do you think about the rise and dominance of mobile gaming? Like, I think it's sort of strange. Like, I can understand, like, to an extent, like, yeah, you can have your mobile games with you whenever you want, and for, like, a lot of, like, games that are released on mobile, they're, like, casual games that you can get into and out of in 5 minutes. So, like, while you're standing in line somewhere or you're at the doctor's office, you can play it or whatever. Like, while you're driving, I don't know. But, like,
No, you shouldn't really.
people
But that
probably...
used to be what I would just do with my DS, like just having a handheld was
And-
sort of that thing. It did the same sort of thing, especially now where you can just, take your 3DS and close it, and it'll last a couple hours before you have to do anything else with it.
I think it was like the prevalence and the growth of mobile phones. Like the iPhone was such a big thing. Like everybody who wanted like an iPhone rushed out and bought one. And I think it's because so many people had iDevices that games on iDevices sold so quick, and like it became such a big thing. I mean, that's my theory.
Oh no, Joe.
I have to go. So,
Oh, how sad you're gonna miss out on. Hold on. How many licensed games have you played that are actually good?
the Lego games, pretty much. Just some Lego Star Wars, I think, pretty much is the only one.
Okay. And who do you serve and who do you trust? I don't understand this question. Just say me, because I'm the GameCola editor.
Yeah, Jay's my boss, so I guess I kind of have to say that. Also, the only thing I want to add to mobile games before I go is that ports to mobile games are probably some of the worst that I've played. Like, I have a Mega Man 2 app. It's awful.
I can't imagine.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah, it's dreadful.
They made... You know how it has normal and difficult, which is really easy and regular?
Yeah.
They actually have an easy mode from normal because of how hard it is to just make the game function.
Yeah.
Every boss dies in 4 hits from the regular weapon. Alright, I gotta go.
Alright, have fun, bye.
But you can enter me at the end of the podcast going, "Goodbye everyone," or something like that.
Okay. So what do you think about the rise and dominance of mobile gaming?
Well, as I said, iPhones are huge. Actually, they're quite small, and I think that's the main draw of them. So, lots of people have iPhones, and they've really, really grown, and then iOS devices extended into iPod Touch and an iPad. Basically, everybody has one in one way or another. So, along comes this App Store, and every game on there is $1, $2. So, mobile games just grew because you could get a quick game super cheap. Bam, it's on your phone, you can play it anywhere. And I think that's how it really differs from handhelds, where the games are still at least $30 and you have to buy a specific handheld to play them. The main draw is just mobile phones.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a good point, is that I hear so many people are like, oh yeah, handheld consoles are dead, I just want my iPhone. But basically, what Joe was saying, there are a lot of game genres that you honestly can't play reasonably on a
touch screen.
Yeah. And
I will definitely agree with that. Playing Crazy Taxi on a touch screen is it's murder.
But I guess I never really thought about you have to think about it differently when you hear about the popularity of mobile games, because it's not that it's taking console and handheld players and that they're now buying mobile games. It's that you're tapping this new market of people who don't play games on systems but will play games for $1 on their phone.
Or the people who will, in fact, play both. People like me.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who play both, but the reason why you have so many millions of downloads and stuff is that you've got this new market of people who wouldn't play console games.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not quite a comparison of saying PlayStation versus Xbox. It's absolutely nothing versus and paired with everything else. And that is an interesting distinction to make that I'd never really considered before.
I've found that for all the things the iPad can't do, you try to do a platformer on iOS, you try to do a first-person shooter, these things don't work at all. But one thing that does work, rhythm games.
That's true.
So it's it's an absolutely joyous place for me, iOS, because recently SNK made a rhythm game based on King of the Fighters, and it's so good. It's amazing just how well rhythm games work on that platform. And because you don't have like the same issues you would have on a console, like, oh, you got to sync up your TV so it's at the right speed on the game. So like, you know, different TVs have lag. You don't get that on an iOS device. It acts just as is. So
interesting. And also, I imagine
get that bonus there.
You get weird things like apparently the Ouya has like weird controller lag, and and like I imagine that, you know, when you tap on the screen, that there's not a lot of.
It's very quick. It's almost instantaneous.
I don't know. Like I feel like so many people try to say like, oh, handheld consoles are dead or whatever. Like mobile is the way of the future, and like people who try to convince me as a game developer that I like need to make mobile games is like, no, what I want.
I don't know about need to make, but should consider as an option. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess like Star Runner probably would work fine if you just like tap to jump.
It probably would on tapping the screen. Definitely, Star Runner would.
Yeah, but
Pizzerian, you'd have to have on-screen controls probably, like an on-screen keyboard.
Yeah.
And for a game like that, where it's already very tight in actually traveling around the spaceships, like you want the precision that the keyboard gives you, and you don't have that on a touchscreen.
Yeah, like I was
unless you tapped and dragged the spaceship. But
yeah, I thought about that.
They tried those controls with the iOS port of R-Type, and it's just dreadful.
Because there's also considerations of like the speed of the ship, and especially in Pizzerian, the different ships have different speeds, so you can't have something where like if they drag it as fast as they can, that it either A, moves that fast, or B, like slowly tries to get there.
Yeah, there is that, I suppose, yeah, because after all, there's the different stats for the spaceships.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't think, like, mobile is cool and all, but it has its limitations, and I don't think it's going to really, like, replace handheld consoles.
I definitely don't imagine it'll ever replace anything. I've never been one to think that when it comes to mobile games, but in terms of how much money you can make off mobile games, like, it's unquestionable that there's so much money in it right now, which is why there's so much crap on the iStore.
Well, hold on. Okay, so how many licensed games have you played that are actually good?
I'm really one of these people that tends to say licensed games, for the most part, aren't terrible. Like, it's kind of difficult because, you know, there are so many licensed games that are, like, known terrible games.
Yeah.
But there's also licensed games people love, and I think now playing them, they're not very good. You know, like GoldenEye.
Oh yeah, that is a licensed game, isn't it?
So, I think most recently some of the like movie tie-in platformers haven't been terrible. I reviewed Ice Age 3 for GameCola, and it's basically like, you know what, this is actually quite fun. Licensed games, it's a hard call. It really is, because you've got the Lego games, and they were good to begin with, but they're the same game now over and over again. It's kind of hard to pick a licensed game and say, yeah, that's great, because there are so many bad ones.
Because, like, honestly, I think the last time that I played a licensed game was Toy Story for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, right. The inferior version. I had it on Mega Drive as a kid, so I'll push to say the Mega Drive version is superior. Sorry, Genesis.
No, because I was just trying to look at the email again, and I think we're done with licensed games. And then who do you serve and who do you trust? Which, of course, is me, because I'm the editor-in-chief.
Yeah, of course. I don't, of course, trust and serve Jeff Day, ex-GameCola writer and runner of randomaccess.net. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then he says, I look forward to hearing your answers, and I'm grateful that you take the time to make these podcasts. They're a high point in each month for me.
Wow, that's a nice thing to say.
Yeah, always humorous, sometimes educational, and overall fun to listen and look forward to each month. Keep doing what turns out great.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. No Lynch is our current superfan after we hired our last batch of superfans.
All right, yeah.
So I guess it's about time to hire No Lynch. But yeah, I think this podcast is probably wrapping up.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you everyone for listening. This was podcast number 76, starring Matt Jonas and Joseph Martin.
Hello.
If you enjoyed the podcast, we also do have an actual internet website, GameCola.net, that you can visit to read all of our game reviews and game commentaries and see more of our podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we're gc.net, the letters G, the letter C, the word dot, and the word net. We are also on Facebook. You can search for GameCola. We are on Twitter at GameCola. We are on Tumblr, gamecola.tumblr.com. We're also on iTunes. If you want to rate us highly, you can go find us on iTunes, GameCola Podcast. If you don't want to rate us highly, if you hated this podcast, then we actually aren't. I lied. I was just making it up. We're not on iTunes, so don't search for us. I think that's everything. So, once again, thank you everyone, and goodbye everybody.
Goodbye.